Hi, this is Kara Ananoza, your host for today's podcast. And I wanted to personally welcome to you our three guests, Miss Alvi Bautista, Cristal Carbonera, and last but not the least, Jillian Sibugan. Thank you for joining us. And also, we're really glad you're here, viewers, because this podcast is designed for you. And now, welcome to our podcast, where we explore the latest trends in technology and how they're shaping our world. Today, we're going to talking about the convergence of technologies and how it's impacting our lives. Well, we're also discussing the differences between our current generation and the previous one. And also, how we can encourage people to become responsible users of technology and how this relates to the convergence of technologies.
I think one of the biggest difference between our generation and the previous one is how we use technology. Like now we have information at our fingertips so that we can access to all people around the world compared to the generation before that it never be possible.
I agree, but I also think there are some downside to this constant connectivity. We're always on our computers and phones, and it can be hard to disconnect and just be present in the moment.
That's a great point, Alvi and Kristen. So how do you think is convergence of technologies is impacting our lives?
Well, I think it's good and bad. Like that, in the hand, we access so much information and can do things that were once impossible from our last generation. And I think it's creating new challenges that we need to address.
That's a really interesting perspective. Can you give us an example of these challenges?
I think one challenge is how we're able to maintain privacy in a world where everything is connected. We need to find ways to protect our data and ensure that is not being misused.
I think one of the most important things we can do is to educate people about the potential risks and the benefits of the technology. We need to help people understand how their actions online will impact their privacy and security, as well as the broader implications to society as a whole.
I agree, but I also think it's important to make technology more accessible and user-friendly. If we want people to use technology responsibly, we need to make it easy for them to do so.
That's a great point. So, what are some specific strategies that we can use to encourage responsible technology user?
Well, one thing we can do is to provide incentives for personal or responsible behavior of a person. For example, we can offer discounts or rewards to a person who uses technology in a responsible way.
That's an interesting idea. Can you give us an example of how this might work in practice?
Or let's say you're a social media company. You could offer discounts on your premium service for users who have strong passwords and enable two-factor authentication. This will incentivize people to take steps to protect their accounts and personal information.
That's a great example. So, what are some other strategies that we can use?
Another strategy is to create more user-friendly interfaces that guide people in a responsible behavior. For example, you're designing an app. You can create more apps.
That's definitely something we need to keep in mind as technology continues to evolve. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us in this podcast, Miss Alvi Bautista, Miss Cristal Garganara, and also to you, Miss Jillian Sibugan. And thanks for joining us on this podcast. Viewers, that's all for today. See you soon!